Someone says something rude, and suddenly your body freezes without warning. Your chest tightens, your face heats up, and your mind goes blank. Later, you replay it for hours, thinking of everything you should have said. But what if your brain is the real reason you reacted that way? Because something strange is happening in that exact moment you freeze. It's not weakness, and it's not a lack of confidence at all. It's a hidden pattern your brain learned without you ever noticing. And once you see it, you can interrupt it instantly. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to respond calmly. Not with aggression, not with fear, but with complete emotional control. You'll stop replaying moments and start owning them in real time. But first, you need to understand what your brain is actually doing. Why your brain freezes under rudeness. When someone is rude, your brain doesn't see words, it sees threat. It activates a survival response designed to protect you from danger. This response shuts down thinking and prioritizes safety over expression. That's why your mind goes blank exactly when you need it most. Here's where it gets interesting. This response is incredibly fast and automatic. It happens before logic, before confidence, before any conscious decision. Your brain chooses silence because it believes silence keeps you safe. But in modern situations, that safety response becomes a limitation. You didn't fail in that moment. Your brain followed an outdated pattern. It treated social discomfort like physical danger, which it is not. This misunderstanding creates the freeze, the silence, and the regret afterward. And once the moment passes, your thinking ability suddenly comes back online. The hidden social test you missed. Rude behavior is rarely random. It's often a subtle form of testing. People observe reactions to understand how far they can push boundaries. They look for hesitation, discomfort, or signals that you won't respond. And your reaction teaches them exactly how to treat you next time. Think about it. Some people act differently depending on who they're with. They're polite to some, but strangely dismissive or sharp toward others. That difference is based on perceived response, not personality or worth. They're reading behavior patterns and adjusting their actions accordingly. But there is one hidden problem most people never realize. If you don't respond clearly, you unintentionally train others to continue. Silence can sometimes be interpreted as acceptance, even when it's not. And that creates a cycle that repeats unless you interrupt it. The 2-second reset technique. The next time someone says something rude, don't react immediately at all. Pause for 2 full seconds and let the moment sit quietly. This pause interrupts your automatic response and gives you control again. It creates space between stimulus and reaction, which is where power exists. Then, calmly ask a simple question that changes the entire dynamic. Say, "Can you say that again?" in a neutral, steady tone. No emotion, no sarcasm, just quiet clarity in your voice. This forces the comment into the open, where it can be examined. Most rude comments are designed to be quick and unnoticed. They rely on speed and surprise to avoid being challenged directly. When repeated, they lose their impact and reveal their true intention. And suddenly, the speaker becomes aware of how they sound. The pattern calling strategy. Some rudeness hides behind humor, making it harder to address directly. It's framed as a joke, but it carries a subtle emotional edge. If you react strongly, you're labeled as overly sensitive or dramatic. So most people laugh along, even when it doesn't feel right. Here's where it gets powerful. You don't respond to the comment itself. Instead, you calmly point out the behavior behind the comment. Say, "I've noticed you say things like that pretty often." This shifts the focus from one moment to a visible pattern. Now the conversation changes direction completely without raising your voice. You signal awareness, memory, and emotional control in a subtle way. People can ignore reactions, but they struggle to ignore recognition. And that awareness often stops the behavior immediately. Understanding the real source of rudeness. Most rude behavior is not actually about you at all. It's often a reflection of stress, insecurity, or internal frustration. People project their emotional state onto others without realizing it, and you simply happen to be in the path of that projection. But something unexpected happens when you respond from that understanding. Instead of reacting defensively, you shift the emotional direction entirely. You ask, "You seem stressed. Is everything all right?" calmly. This moves attention from conflict to awareness in a single moment. Now they face a choice they didn't expect at all. They either acknowledge something deeper or continue looking unreasonable publicly. And either way, the power dynamic shifts away from confrontation. Because you stayed calm while they lost emotional control. When there's an audience watching, some people perform rudeness differently when others are around. They rely on attention, reactions, and social validation from the group. The goal isn't just to affect you, but to influence perception, and that makes their behavior highly dependent on the audience. Here's the shift. You don't try to win the audience. You simply bring awareness to the choice that was made. Say, "That was an interesting thing to say out loud." Keep your tone neutral, calm, and completely steady. This redirects attention without creating confrontation or emotional escalation. Now people observe the behavior instead of reacting to it automatically. The speaker loses control of the narrative they were trying to create, and the performance collapses without you needing to push back. The power of controlled silence. Sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all. But this silence is not avoidance. It's intentional and controlled. You maintain eye contact, stay still, and show no emotional reaction. This creates uncertainty for the person who expected immediate feedback. Most people are uncomfortable with extended silence after speaking rudely. They rely on reactions to guide their next move or adjustment. Without feedback, their brain starts searching for meaning and control, and that discomfort often leads them to explain or backtrack. They begin filling the silence with nervous words or justifications. They soften their tone, laugh awkwardly, or shift the conversation. Without you saying anything, they correct their own behavior, and you keep your energy completely intact throughout the moment. When you choose to walk away, there are moments where continuing the interaction serves no purpose. You've stayed calm, responded clearly, and nothing has changed. At that point, the most powerful move is disengagement. Not emotional, not dramatic, just calm and final. Say, "I'm not continuing this conversation like this," clearly. Then remove your attention completely without waiting for a response. No explanation, no justification, just a clean emotional exit. Because your presence is not something others are entitled to. Rude behavior depends on engagement to keep functioning. Every reaction, even controlled ones, can still fuel the interaction. When you withdraw fully, the dynamic loses its energy source, and the situation ends without you losing control. Building your internal control system. These techniques are not about controlling others, they're about mastering yourself. They train your brain to respond instead of react under pressure. Over time, this becomes automatic, calm, and deeply natural. And that's where real confidence begins to form quietly. Instead of forcing motivation, your brain needs small systems that build consistency. That's the exact philosophy behind quiet growth. You don't become unshakable overnight. You build it moment by moment. Each response becomes proof that you're changing how you operate. Your brain isn't broken. It was simply following an outdated survival pattern. Now you understand why you froze and how to interrupt it instantly. The next time it happens, pause, observe, and choose your response. And once you see this pattern clearly, you can't unsee it anymore.